Welcome to the Gounie podcast and the talks of the town. Interesting chats, interesting people on our very interesting Red Sea shores. On this episode, we'll be speaking to Norshek Fawzy, founder of Norshek, and we'll also be having a chat with Nicole Lambrecht, founder of Nicole's Greenhouse and Rising Stars. So stick around, enjoy the talks, and don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe.
مش هنعمل
هتبصي على الكاميرا دي وتقولي الجوني اكشن.
يلا الجوني اكشن.
All right, welcome to El Gounie, none other than Norshek Fawzy, aka Cookie. Welcome to the show, Cookie.
Thank you, Safi.
First question, Cookie, where's that from? Where did that happen?
They tell me when I was 2 days old, everybody came to visit to see my mom and the new baby. And whenever they asked, oh, what did you name her? And she would say Norshek. They'd go like, what? And then my grandmother was holding me and she said, oh, she's so cute, Cookie. And then she's
And
like,
then
you know
stuck.
what? Call her Cookie.
Cookie stuck for life.
Yeah.
All right. Cookie, the one question that we're going to ask everyone on the show. Gounie, El Gounie. What does it mean to you to be a Gounie? Describe a Gounie.
Barefoot. Free, has time, almost always has an empty gas tank in the car.
Yeah.
Almost all actually also have like burnt blonde tips, even like my brunette friends, especially you.
Yes,
صح.
thank you.
حلوة قوي. And I feel like it always filters itself. يعني the people that have been here and especially in my circle that have stuck, we don't have to be friends, we don't have to be close, but you see them and it feels familiar.
It
But
clicks.
there's a certain familiarity that comes with people who have been by the sea long enough, even if they have to wear a shirt and go to work early and work a certain number of hours, or they work at night, whatever it is, there's a certain familiarity that comes with it.
Speaking of by the sea, what made you decide to move by the sea? I mean, we go way back. We've known each other for a long time, and I've known you since you were living in Cairo. I think the first time I met you, you were pregnant with Tala. We were recording a voiceover, I think. When did the decision, you and Nabil, when did it occur? Like, you know what? No, we're packing our bags and we're going to the Red Sea. How did it happen?
And I grew up around here when I was 2-3 years old, and all my like early childhood memories are my parents helping build a wooden boat, doing beach cleanups before it was a thing, going to Mahmeya to like see how it's going to become. And
Imagine a beach cleanup that you don't have to post about it.
exactly. It was such a thing back then. Like my dad would come up and go like, "Yalla, we're gonna do a beach cleanup," and I vividly remember people telling him like, "Mr. Hussein, you're gonna do it yourself," and obviously yes, he cares, so he did, and it really wasn't common to do that, but it's really how it goes back to like a core memory, and it was an essential part of my development to step in the sand, have to wear something super warm because it's freezing and we're still by the beach. Like the beach was not this summer destination. We go and we can only wear shorts and swimsuits. It was something constant. And actually before moving to Gouna, Nabil and I went to Dubai. And this was before we got Tala and Taj. And we stayed there for 6 months. And trying to mimic that as well. Yani by the beach and a completely different lifestyle. We were working in the fitness industry back then, so we learned so much. And we went back to Cairo. We grew that fitness business. And when we had Tala, we both knew when we got pregnant, actually not even when we had her, that like, we need to change something. Like, I cannot live in a house with a fence inside a compound, inside, away, حتى in the suburbs, but like away, and then go to this gated, everything is gated and everything takes so much time. And then when we had Tala, she wouldn't stop crying all the time unless she was nursing. But to get to point A to point B in Cairo in a car was an impossible task.
Sounds nightmarish.
Oh, no, it was really like putting her in the car seat and driving while she's screaming until I would park, nurse her, and then put her back in, and then go take her to the gym with me, do everything with her attached to me. When we moved here, she was, طبعا, yes, a little bit older and did not need that much. But Sataj was younger, and it was so much easier to give him that attention. It's so much easier that even if I put him in a car, the maximum would be 7 minutes. So it's much easier with the kids.
Would you say maybe, because I always feel that there's more time here. Yeah, in Arabic, الوقت هنا في بركة. You know, an hour by the Red Sea is much longer. You can do much more than an hour in Cairo or an hour in Dubai or an hour in any big city. Would you say that that would be part of it, maybe?
Of course, yes. The thing is, I'm not excellent with time management. So this extra hour,
I mean, yeah, no.
I overplan everything.
Your words, not mine.
But I came on time.
You did. Actually, you did. You showed up exactly on time.
But the thing is, I like, if I have 2 hours, I cannot just sit. Unless my plan is to just sit. But I'll go and I'll do like, خلاص, I'll go to the supermarket and then I'll pass by, pick up whatnot, drop it off. I'll find something to do. And then I go back to Cairo to visit the family, and I have the same mindset. And Nabil reminds me, Cookie, you can't. You can't schedule 4 meetings in person in Cairo no matter what.
In 2 hours.
No matter what. I'm like, it's okay. I'll just go to Mahdi at 10 a.m. And then I'll be in Zamalek by 2. And then back to 6th of October by 4. And then I'll meet your mom at 7.
I think that's, for me, that's definitely part of it. It's part of what I love being here, knowing that from point A to point B, 99.9% of the time is going to take X amount of minutes. It's a standardized, unless there's a special event happening, then it's going to change. But other than that, I think that's a huge part of it. What about the kids growing up here? You've seen probably your friends' kids that have grown up or are still growing up in Cairo or other cities. How would you say that compares, growing up barefoot, in touch with nature every day versus, sure, you're also in a gated compound, maybe somewhere else, but there's the school bus, there's the interacting with the city. I don't know, I'm very curious about that.
Honestly, I feel like a big part of it relies on the parents. So parents who I don't have in me the discipline to constantly create for my children what they need. So for me, it's so much easier to live in a place that helps me with that. So I'm more relaxed. But in Cairo, I have a lot of friends who make it a point to go hiking once a week and do مش عارفة ايه. They decide to live in Maadi, for example, where they can go most places walking, biking, cycling. I am not that person, so I can't really, like, if I move to Cairo, my life would be very different because I don't think I have it in me to put that effort every day. It would stress me out a lot. Here, I mean, the kids are now 10 and 9, and the independence that they have is very close to the independence that we have. Like, the only difference is we provide the financials, but they can go shopping, they can cook, they can make plans with their friends, they can find a ride, they can take the bikes and just go. And this is not widely available in Cairo, maybe in just some small communities. And I think people are really hungry for that. And that's why a lot of like the gated communities in Cairo are bigger, have a lot of these amenities inside. So the kids and everyone, actually, not just the kids, can have that sense of freedom and independence and safety. To me, I see the difference in my kids when we do very simple things. Yani we're just going out as a family, for example, how they think about the going out. Everything is simple. Everything is, you know what? It's something I realized the difference. In Cairo, you cannot forget something at home and go back and get it.
It's done. It's
خلاص.
done. As soon as you've forgotten it, it's done.
It's so underrated how stressful this is. Because here I can forget everything and go back in a second and get it.
I called you right before this chat. I'm like, Cookie, I'm just going to go. I forgot a wire at home. I'll go pick up a wire and come back. Because we know it's going to take X amount from here to here and there.
And this leaves you relaxed.
Yeah.
Yani when you leave your home, ماشي, okay, I have to pack up kaza, kaza, kaza. But there is no this, am I sure I have everything? خالص. Even at school, kids call me from school, they're like, oops, forgot the lunch. I can bring it.
Yeah.
And this relaxes them. So I feel like their nervous system is calm, which is essentially the most important thing for all of us, to like just have a calm nervous system.
Would you say safety plays a part in that? And you were mentioning there are some compounds maybe in other cities that have similar amenities. But safety-wise, I think that's a huge thing here. You know?
طبعا, yeah, of course.
I know that I could pretty much leave my car unlocked, or if the door to my house is unlocked, it's relatively safe. So how does that translate? Because I have no context or reference. How does that translate with kids growing up?
You can see it in the body language. Yani I can see the difference even in my own children being here and then being in Cairo. When they cross the street, of course they have to. I mean, Cairo streets are next level ninja stuff. But how they carry themselves, they're more alert. They have to ask. They have to let me know where they are. Even if it's just something small. If we go to the mall, for example, my mom and my mother-in-law would never let me not see the kids at all times, which I completely understand, and they are absolutely right. I'm just not used to it. I'm not used to having to think what might happen.
Yeah.
So when we're here, first of all, this is home for the kids. The kids have been in Gouna since they were 2 and 1. So they don't know anything else. They're born and raised. But when they're here, they can go up to any security, and most probably the security would know us. A lot of the security know them, and they can just ask them for anything. I remember when they were younger, we lived closer to the school, and they would bike, and there's the street that goes
behind the courts.
Yeah. And it's before they did this left and right thing, it was a bit fast, and a security guy would stand there at 8 in the morning and at 3 in the afternoon, because he knows the kids would cross the street and he would help them all. We never asked. They asked.
That's small
in Upper
town,
Nubia.
Small town
and then
living.
the guy told someone, and بالضبط. And then this saying that it takes a village. I mean, I have found 3 girlfriends in the last couple of years that I did not know I was missing my entire life, and because we all share the same values and we all choose to really be here and really be present and be there for the kids without taking too much from our own plate. So we mother each other's children as well, and so do the dads.
Yep.
And there's like this pool of maybe 10, 15 kids that I would go up to and correct their behavior without thinking twice. And I would obviously go help any child. But قصدي, they feel like they are my own as well.
Yep.
I'm not only responsible to the 2 I gave birth to, but so they're all just
it's a collective
the village
family.
kids.
Yeah,
They're the village kids.
It's a collective family. And now that you mentioned that's a very important point, because there's a contrast between people who visit us here in El Gouna during holidays, vacations, and people who live here all the time. And my friends that don't live here, that visit, a lot of them would always ask that question of, what do you do for a social life? Of course, they're asking that question thinking of our town as a holiday or their party destination. But they I don't think few of them have seen it from wait a minute, we live here. So we have social responsibilities. I avoid people socially, like you avoid people socially sometimes. I crave certain social interactions sometimes that I have to make an effort to go and do. How do you find the social life in El Gouna, and what more would you like to see?
It's a good question. I feel like the social life is more or less the same as it is anywhere else. It's when you look at any place from the outside, you don't really see the core, but you don't see the dinner at someone's house, you don't see the game night at someone else's house, you don't see the let's go for a walk at sunset, which most people would do if they live anywhere.
Yeah.
You just find your people and you interact doing whatever you enjoy doing together. I feel like because Gouna grew a lot in the last few years, so a lot of social responsibility is being like nurtured by those who run the town. So I see effort, like the last community event that they had, the Mother's Day event, last year Women's Day event, all these...
The Mercato on Fridays.
Yeah, all these small little gatherings. When I go, like Women's Day last year, I went and I ran into Natalie and Nicole. I haven't seen Natalie in so long. She was traveling. We caught up. I saw Nirvana, and every time I see Nirvana, it's always like, hey, I miss you and hang out. But then we just don't take initiative, so we never do. And we really enjoyed each other's company that day. Yeah. So those initiatives are really important. And I feel like because we are not an actual city, there is management and there are people from the community who actually work there. We have this upside of someone actually telling us, hey, yalla, come play. And it's important because you also remember those you like who are just not in your social circle anymore because of how big the town is.
Yep.
And you think 5 years ago, we only had this 2 supermarkets, fine, but like one that most of us went to, yep. And you would probably bump into someone you know or 2 people you know every time you go grocery shopping.
That's true.
Now you have more options. Yeah, we still bump into each other and everything, but still there are a lot more people and a lot more options. But it's not like there's this one place that we will all go to and see each other. The other thing is for the kids, the sports district, for example, is excellent.
For everyone, the sports district
amazing.
Is excellent.
But that's the thing. We drop off the kids for basketball. We walk in the track like old ladies.
In Nadi.
And
بالضبط
in Nadi. Yeah. What I really need, I feel like it's a need. No, I don't need it. I'm too old. But a gymnastics hall, for example. Something that can really train. I feel like even my kids are already too old. But it's something essential for the development of little children.
Yep.
To play any sport or just for physical mobility and flexibility.
I actually think that's in the pipeline, an indoor sort of sports hall that we live on the Red Sea. There are elements to consider. Some days the weather will not allow you to play football or basketball or paddle.
Yeah, of course.
So an indoor place that is sheltered from the elements, I think that is definitely in the pipeline.
And I'm so looking forward to the skate park. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
My bones will complain, I'm sure.
Oh my God. Oh.
But I can't wait for that. I think it's going to be the biggest one in the Middle East.
Yeah,
Africa, I think. Yeah.
I saw the video and Taj watched it. And Taj, every time we go to Cairo, he practices there. And he's got actually really good, like he can do the drop down.
Yeah.
Flip and ollie di khalas. Yeah. We do it by smokery now every day. But so the drop down and I don't know what, and he got like 2-3 major falls. But khalas, he's ready, you know? But he saw the video and now we're looking forward next year's, huh?
Yeah. I expect Taj is going to be one of the ambassadors, most probably. Yeah. You know, I want to circle back to you mentioning something. You said it's not a city, but we're also talking about the fact that it's growing and it's growing very quickly. As a future city or as a growing village, we discussed the indoor sports complex, some place for gymnastics. What else would you like to see? What do you think, El Gouna is El Gouna, but you can always add something to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
What would you like to see as somebody? How long have you been living here?
8 years.
8 years. So the insight is valuable. What would you like to see?
A public beach.
Okay.
Somewhere chilled, maybe has some beach furniture. You can bring your own speaker, food, whatever, and go hang out.
Okay.
We do that in like some secret spots. I'm sure you do
Hey.
the same, Yani.
Picnic tomorrow. Yeah.
Exactly. But it would be nice to have a dedicated space that, you can go barbecue, do whatever.
Yeah.
And طبعا my heart is in the fish farm. Like, I love this place and I wish we could utilize it more. A lot of the times it's open and we can go and barbecue there and everything. But I think ever since COVID, it's like we don't know the status.
Yeah.
So
I definitely
just,
know there are plans in the pipeline for the fish farm as well, and I think
Yeah?
it'll make everyone happy.
Okay.
That's for sure. Speaking of farms and nature, and taking you back to saying you grew up on the Red Sea. I think you spent a lot of time growing up on the other side in Sharm el-Sheikh as well,
No, here.
and this side.
Yeah.
Being that much in touch with nature from a young age, do you think that influenced your brand of, I mean, I'm going to call it life products. That's
حلوة دي, I
what I
like
would
it.
call Norshek. Some people say cosmetics. I'm like, no, it's not cosmetics. It's products I use for life. So being an entrepreneur and an owner of a company that is very socially and environmentally responsible, how much of that would you say came from you being in touch with these sands and these waters and these seas?
I think a lot of it. And I was very lucky that Nabil and I share a lot of that. Like, he loves nature. He's so passionate about earth and the environment that sometimes it hurts him, like to see what's happening and to know that he's helpless.
Empathy. It's
And
empathy,
he's a very
next level.
empathetic person, Falan. But also to know that he's doing something that at least does not add up to that is fulfilling. And I think we both knew, like, it was an unspoken agreement that whatever we do in life together will always be loving to earth and to others. And the idea of Norshek, the brand, started with not the brand, but just the company, that we would create something that leaves a legacy to our children, that they know that it is actually possible to do good business and create a good enterprise, a healthy enterprise, without stepping on toes, without stepping on the wrong toes.
Or the earth's toes.
Yeah, for sure. And really by taking care of those who work with you, not, I don't know how to describe it, بس just taking care of the people you work with, being meticulous about certain things and actually very lenient about others. And we didn't know what exactly we would be doing, but we knew we wanted to do that. We wanted to create that. And the idea of the products first came when I was pregnant, because I used to create deodorants at home and try them on Nabil, which wasn't always successful. Poor Nabil. But I got paranoid. I didn't want to use any chemicals and started making stuff at home. Some were very successful, some were not very much. I'm also an artist / graphic designer, so you should not ever trust me with formulas and ingredients and being consistent in any way. And thankfully we hired the team to do that, and I don't have to
Worry about that anymore.
خلاص الحمد لله.
Bring my head back down from the clouds.
Yeah. But it was like, طب خلاص. I used to love that, and at the time there weren't many options. I mean, now it's incredible the amount of Egyptian brands and regional brands that make amazing products. Like, it's inspiring. At the time there weren't many, and so we felt like it's a need, and we were here we have been here at the time, I think, for 4 years or 5 years. And I had just worked on the first film festival and finished it and had this feeling of, you know what, I want to hustle and bustle and do this again. And bas.
I remember that year of the first film festival, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It was fun.
How does it feel to, I mean, I think Norshek is one of the very first made in El Gouna sort of brands, you know, and a few have followed. How does it feel to have one of the first brands, and how is El Gouna as an HQ for an entrepreneur or someone who's thinking, you know what, maybe this is a nice place where I could think about starting my company?
It's challenging, actually. As we were saying, it's a very seasonal town, and those who live here, I think one of the misconceptions is this is a very wealthy town. Everyone here is so rich, and actually most people who live here, I'm not going to say most, a lot of the people I know who live here are not rich.
They're hustling. They're here to get a job and live a beautiful life by the Red Sea. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And so being an entrepreneur, it's challenging as it is, and having a business that relies on any sort of purchasing power here comes with its perks and its challenges. So I don't know if I have any advice or like conclusion to that, but I feel like it is excellent for some people and for some business types, and it's not for everyone. And I come from the school of you will never know until you try, and even if someone tells you it won't work, screw them, you might be right, and go ahead and try it and see what happens.
Never try, you never know.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the time you go somewhere, for example, you're walking in a foreign city and you see a shop and it's super busy, and then another shop and super empty, and they sell more or less the same thing.
Yeah.
So it comes with, I believe it comes with a certain aura, energy of the people who are working there, energy of the space, energy of the place, energy of the thing you sell, your time, your destiny at the time. There are a lot of spirituality that explains
things that congregate and elements that collect together.
Exactly.
Speaking of the things you sell, I want to take a moment and discuss the punny names, because your products come with interesting names, and
very much so.
I mean, sometimes you just grab it at the supermarket and just read because it's entertaining. Where do the funny names come from? Because I know you're a funny person.
I just admitted I am. Huh? So actually, Nabil comes up with a lot of them. And we do very serious brainstorming sessions, extremely serious, where we sit and we try to only tell jokes. So, for example, we have this Skinkin, which is a body lotion. We have one with berry fragrance. And we had the other one for such a long time. And I will not talk about the explanation there because you have to read it yourself. It's really long and really something. But then the berry one, we were at home and we had friends over. And we were like, guys, we need to print the labels. So we actually need to come up with a description. Do you mind brainstorming with us? And everyone was like, yeah, sure, why not? And we wrote the English and it was fine. And then we were struggling with the Arabic. And I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? Toot, toot. There's something there. And then we went, toot, toot, كريم مظبوط. Toot, toot, على الإيد محطوط. Exactly. And I don't remember the rest. But يعني, this is how it comes. It's really, we try to hold a very light, fun work environment. Most of the people who work with us have been with us for at least 3 years and they've become family. And it's fun to bring this play into work, because if anything, none of us should be working just because you want the paycheck at the end of the month and that's it. Yeah. And that's such a privileged thing to say, because some people can only do that.
In an ideal world, of course.
Yeah. But in anything that you do, play can take part. And I go to the bank here, for example, and I love the people who work there. And the minute I walk in, I try to joke with everyone. And there's a specific guy there who looks exactly like Peter Parker, and he is called Peter.
Hey, Lois, it looks exactly like Peter.
It's so funny. And Taj actually is the one who realized. And whenever you go, Peter is always smiling.
Aw,
No matter
Habibi.
what.
Habibi.
Khatir.
You know what? That is the perfect segue to my next question. Living here by the Red Sea, living here in El Gouna, do you think it makes it easier to be playful, to be creative, to be light and fun? All the things that you described that go into a brainstorming session into creating one of the product names for you.
I think the short answer is yes. The long answer is living here first has to be fun and playful before here. Because you see people who, like, I look around and I see a lot of people, because we kind of, it's a small village at the end of the day. I was just saying it's big, but now it's small because this point requires a small village. But we all kind of know a lot about each other, and we feel for each other, I think, especially the ones who have been here a lot. And as easy as it is to be fun and playful, it's equally critical to fall into a depressive state or to fall into, oh my God, the inflation, I can't pay the rent, or
What inflation? There's no inflation. 1 + 1 = 2.
I agree with you. But I mean, common life struggles. And I was just talking to my mom on the phone, and she was like, yeah, your generation, and I know it's a lot, but I just want you to remember that every generation has its challenges. Maybe you guys know more about it now because you're more connected, but this is just life. And if you look at it as, oh my God, we are the generation that, did what and what and what, then we are that. Yeah. But when we look at, okay, this is life, we'll just make something out of it and enjoy those, I don't know, bumps, not even challenges.
I'm one to admit that it's easier being in El Gouna to say, okay, it is what it is, because you still have a beautiful day, more or less.
Yeah.
You don't get stuck in traffic for hours on end. You're not surrounded by pollution all the time. So for me, one of the reasons why I live here is that if you compare it, even the tough times are kind of nice here.
Oh my God, I had a beautiful COVID.
I loved being on lockdown here. It was great.
My God. Yes. And actually at the time, 3 of our friends who have families moved for like 6 months, and we all lived in Kafr.
Yeah.
All houses next to each other. Had the best Ramadan of my entire life. And it was lovely. In that domain, yes, I totally agree with you. But I feel like we have a responsibility to be there for each other here more than in the big cities where most people go to an office. For someone at the office would see that they don't feel okay today.
Yep.
But for example, if you don't feel okay tomorrow and you stay at home or you come to your studio alone and you decide to lock yourself down because you're just not feeling okay, it is my responsibility, it is Nabil's responsibility, it is your friend's responsibility to make sure that we drop in.
Yep. And it's easier. It's easier
Yeah.
in a small village format, yeah. Speaking of that, if people are considering a move to El Gouna, what advice would you give them? What should they expect? What would they expect? What sort of mentality should they have if they want to come and live here in El Gouna?
One of the first things that everyone who moves here has to adapt with is, if they don't have a very, very, very open mind, is the inclusion. So this is an expat community. There are people from all over the world. This is part of the beauty of it. And this would be the number one, and starting with themselves and then on to their children, to accept people's differences, accept people's different looks, different behaviors, respecting all that. That's one. 2 is being okay, being loved by a cat. And that is something like Gouna cats or something else.
Yeah, they're amazing.
It's, oh my
They're
God.
amazing.
Yeah, and
if you have an allergy, just, pop a pill, but still enjoy it. Take an
absolutely.
antihistamine.
Like everywhere you go, there is a cat that will love you.
Yeah.
And we have one at the shop that we call Sabuna.
Sabuna.
Fawzia. She's like gray and white and royal. And it's a challenge every night before we close. We have to make sure Sabuna's not inside the shop.
Oh.
And then once she actually hid and we opened the next day and she was like, "Good morning." We're like, "Oh my God." Wasn't bothered at
Your
all.
store
Yeah.
smells nice.
Yeah, so cats is one thing. And stray dogs. And I feel like this, for example, Tala, she loves animals, but she used to get a little bit fidgety around dogs because they move fast, they are unexpected, she doesn't know what to do. And being here changed that completely because just being exposed to wild but also very kind baladi dogs all the time. We got one in our terrace a few months ago and the kids called her Vanilla.
Oh.
She stayed around for like 2 months actually, or a month, or I don't know how long.
Speaking of which, big shout out to Gouna Stars. We love the work you're doing. Please keep it up. We love you. We love you. We're definitely going to have you guys on the show. That's for sure.
Gouna Stars are just incredible.
Yeah. Again, family, village mentality. I think these are the things that can only happen in a small village.
Yeah.
What about a woman, being a woman in El Gouna? How does that differ from other places around Egypt?
Short or long answer?
Let's do the short answer.
Medium?
Medium answer.
Yeah, short, freedom. Very simply put. I mean, there's this, I can do whatever I want. And whoever doesn't like that has to deal with it.
Yeah.
Other places, I will do whatever they want. And if I don't like it, I have to deal with it.
That's a very, very, very good way to put it. It's a very good way to put it.
So sad though.
No, not really. Because we're here, we're in El Gouna, and you live the way that you want.
Yeah, of course. But I think of my mother, my sister, my nephew, my niece. And I would wish to like export some of what we have here to them. And maybe they do that in the gated communities, in the clubs and so on.
I think when people come here and they see, I think it rubs off
Definitely.
one way or another, which is part of our responsibility as a community, is to display the correct, or not the correct, like how we'd like to be treated.
Yeah.
So others could maybe say, hey, wait a minute, maybe I could take that back to my community or to my city or to my area.
But I'd like to add something. So I do whatever I want, and whoever doesn't like it has to deal with it. But I do that respectfully.
Exactly, out of respect to everyone.
Yeah, of course. So if I'm going to...
Cookie's not after partying,
No,
blasting
exactly.
the speakers till 4 a.m.
Yeah, like I teach Tala now that the swimsuit belongs on the beach, on the pool, and that is it. Although it is okay to walk around in the street with your bikini, no one will bother you, but it's not okay. And it's important to, like, I can't think of an example, but if I feel like, for example, I have workers at home, I will not walk around in a crop top around the workers, although they will never, ever bother me. It's out of respect to them, out of respect to their culture. And it's important, and I feel like this is when it is not magruh.
The person is magruh?
No, like the feminist act. Like when it's real and it's not, can't think of the word. Like I'm not doing it to get back at someone or do it to prove a point. I am doing what...
Genuinely. You're doing it out of genuine respect to a situation.
Exactly.
Or a set of rules and, human engagement policies.
بالضبط. And I don't think that doing that takes away from my freedom at all. بالعكس. It adds to my freedom. I have the choice and I choose to respect you.
Yeah. I think it boils back down to our beautiful little village and how we all like to live in it. And on that note, Cookie, thank you very much for joining our beautiful village. You've been here for many, many years. Here's to many more years. Thank you for joining us on El Gounie. And we'll see you around. El Gounie, high five.
أقول كات ولا
عايزة تقولي كات قولي كات يلا.
El Gounie كات كده.
أيوة.
El Gounie action.
Yes. Welcome to another edition of El Gounie. And we're on the search of what it means to be a Gounie. And I don't think you can be more Gounie than someone who was raised in this beautiful town. Which is why our guest today is none other than Nicole Lambrecht. Nicole, welcome to El Gounie.
Thank you for having me, Safi. Really appreciate it.
A question that we're asking everyone on the show. What does it mean to you to be a Gounie? What does a Gounie mean to you?
It's like there's so many things for me that Gouna means, but like being a Gounie is just the freedom of being able to do a lot of things in a very limited amount of time, because everything is so close by and you know everyone, so you're walking on the street and it's like, good morning to that security, good morning to that person, good morning. We saw each other this morning by odds.
Yeah.
So for me, just being in Gouna is just a safe space to grow up, and for kids and for different families out there to, be in a good environment.
And speaking of growing up in Gouna, I can only imagine. You're one of the rare breeds, one of El Gouna's first generations, people who were raised here. What was that like? What was it like growing up in El Gouna and growing up with El Gouna at the same time?
Yeah, it's been quite a shock later on, coming back and forward and just seeing it expand every time. When I remember myself as a kid, it's literally like the definition of being barefoot, running around town. There's even stories of like people calling the security, calling my mom, I found your daughter in the hill villas, barefoot with a teddy bear in her hand, with like a friend of mine, and they're like, have you lost her, And then the babysitter lost me, yeah. But like it's a very like opening thing to be growing up here, because it's so weird to explain unless you've experienced it yourself, but the definition is barefoot living and freedom. In a sense, you're so free to explore so many different things and meet so many different people, but in a safe way.
Nice. What about different phases of growing up here? Like the difference childhood versus, your teen years in El Gouna and now adulthood in El Gouna. How has it been?
Like for sure, I think towards I was so grateful. I had like a big community around growing up. What I loved in compared to Europe and Egypt, because I did move to Europe a couple of years to study after my teenage years, and here it's the diversity. You never look at age, you don't look at nationality, you don't look at anything. It's like after I realized half of the people in my class were a different age and everyone was from different countries, it just brings so much open-minded cultureness to yourself, and I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't grow up here. It was important for me to leave because Gouna is a bubble, to experience, different cultures, countries, a different type of school system, but then coming back and going back to my roots with a different perspective, that was what I loved the most, because then I could come from a different type of education and come back and give back to my community with the expertise that I expanded from outside and could bring it in. Which for me was my biggest why.
And where did you go to study?
I went to study in Sweden. So I moved back with my mom and my sister. And then my sister moved back because, she's a professional kite surfer. So she needed to be based close to the sea. And then I stayed for a while because I was working there. And then I came back because I just missed it too much.
And exactly, how was the contrast between, sun, sea, and sand to Scandinavia?
So I believe I'm so grateful to have had both upbringings, in a sense, to get experience of both. But it is quite a contrast. Especially in Scandinavia, especially during the winter, it's depressing. It's depressing as hell. The biggest gratitude I have here is to wake up every day and be able to jump into the lagoon, take a walk with my dog, having some sun on my face, it just makes me feel more, alive.
Yeah.
And there during the winter, I would remember waking up, going to school, it was pitch dark. And then I remember coming home from school, pitch dark.
Yep.
And I was like, it's not strange that then people at the bus station don't say hi to each other. This was also something that was new for me. People found I was weird if I said hi to them on the streets, It was like, good morning. And then they're looking at me like, does she want something from me? Like, is there, and then I was so used to here, you know, like you walk on the street, you say good morning to the security, to the gardener, to your friends, to the dogs on the street, you know, like I had so much in that. So I felt so different moving to Sweden because I had a different way of thinking. I had a different way of seeing things from also growing up here, that like I felt a bit, I had to kind of step back and go into a box. So Sweden was quite difficult for me for many years because I felt that I needed to be pushed. Like there's this Swedish word lagom.
Okay.
And lagom means like not too much, not too little.
Just the right
Just
amount.
the right amount. And in a sense in life, it's good with balance and that thing. But there, I felt at least that if I would excel too much in school or if I was thinking in a different way, I kind of had to bring it back, and I kind of just adapted to the norm of how everyone else was. What were they wearing? What were they speaking about? These kind of things, because I didn't want to stick out too much. I'm really getting into that society there, where I feel, of course, that's everywhere whenever you're growing up in school, but here it felt different, you know? Like, I've always been so appreciative of Gounies in general and the people who work here who just uplift all your ideas and any brainstorm thing you have, you know, like someone will take it and someone will encourage you to do it. And that's what I felt was lacking a bit from my motivation there.
You know, one thing that it could be, because this is something that I've realized being in Gouna for such a long time, there's very little envy in Gouna, you know?
Yeah.
So if you're excelling in any sort of field, you're most often finding that your community is supportive of that, you know, and that's one of the things I love most about it here. And I think that's part of small town living, where we are village, we are family, we are one. So your success is kind of my success is your success, etc. As opposed to big cities where it's a rat race, you know, everyone's kind of instilled with that little bit of envy of, no, you need to be better. Or if you see somebody with something, you kind of want it, you want to covet it for yourself. And speaking of that lagom, was it lagom?
Yeah.
For you, what is the exact, or, you know, if you're going to give it percentages, what's your lagom? Like how much time you spend in Gouna versus, you know, going out into the rest of the world?
Because my brain is on the constant, like, I had a very hard time grounding myself because I've always been like a come and go person. And it is important in the Gouna bubble to leave and to come back if you can, because it is at the end, there's so many perks with the small town. Sometimes it's just like for your mind to get inspired by different things and to see like different culture and people, it's like good to leave because you need I called Gouna sometimes Disneyland for adults. That's what like friends of mine who came would say. So it's important to leave Disneyland. Like for me, I don't have the same experience since I work. Like for me, I need to leave for the opposite reason. Because for me, I have a hard time with balance, with my work-life balance when I'm here. So I leave to get a bit of perspective and to to take myself out of day-to-day operations so that I can actually close my laptop, because Gouna is small. So you run into someone and then someone starts to talk to you about work and things. So your brain never really switches off, like in fields, I think, that have to do with like hospitality, these kind of things. So the login for me is just, I try to leave like every few months if I can. And because also part of my job is that I travel with my sister because she's competing. So I go to do some mental support and help her from nutrition perspective. So that for me is one of my priorities, especially like the next 2 years, because she's on her peak of her career. So if I can support her because athletes is such it's draining to be an athlete and not to have like a support next to you. So for me, that is a big priority for me.
And part of this village mentality we were talking about, your sister makes us all proud, you know, the level she's competing at, you know, and especially from, I mean, I've seen you both pretty much as children, you know, and then from your sister, from child to international super high ranking, you know, female kite surfer, and you with your entrepreneurial sort of endeavors, it makes me proud, and it makes a lot of people proud. And just as you're proud of your sister, we're proud of you guys as well. And I think you girls need to know that, you know.
I really appreciate it. I get a bit.
Now,
Yeah, it feels. No, I'm so grateful to all the support that like that people in Gouna give, and the uplifting and the encouragement. You know, it gives the motivational boost when you're down. You know, like to feel that. Yeah, as you said, what I love is like taking away from the envious. It's like when there's something new in town, everyone is there, everyone's boosting it, everyone is like, you know, like wow. Because I think it's because we want to attract more people to come and live here and to be part of that, and to resident themselves in this way, to be able to have the same experience. And because more people do deserve to have good in their lives, and living here gives a lot of that, because it can give so many different experiences, but especially for families. I always said, like, okay, maybe I won't live here my whole life, but if I get kids, like for me it would be important to be here, to give them the same type of upbringing that I was privileged enough to have.
And being that much in touch of nature and being grounded, as you say.
Barefoot living.
Yeah. Speaking of seeking groundedness, I know you do a lot of activities here that are, and I think a lot of people that live here kind of seek groundedness because it's enticing to do that, because we're also in touch of nature. What sort of activities are you kind of into that give you that grounding perspective?
So I'm a very much like, I need my morning routines. Like that was like a big like discovery, because my mom would always say I go 110%, or I crash, and I'm trying to refill the cup before the cup gets empty, because I've already gone through a bit of burnouts and stuff. And so for me, like, I made it priority no matter what. I don't schedule meetings after 11. I wake up, I don't check my phone. I do my morning meditation. I either go work out at like Vitalis, the gym, or I go for an early kite surfing session, or I go for a run or a walk with my dog, and then I take a swim, journal, these kind of things, and then I start my day. And I think that's the amazing thing with Gouna being so small, is I can pack so many things, but also like, because I have a lot of work, I can still pack a lot of my private things and go see friends and these kind of things, because everything's close. So my lunch break, I can go kite surf for an hour at Makani, and I'm, you know, and I go back and I'm the happiest kid ever, you know, like. I get
Sorry
so much
guys, wind is
energy.
pumping. I'm gonna go for a session, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, sometimes I end up in the restaurant, because I go every morning to like do the checkups, good morning to everyone, and do some like experimenting. And, you know, they see me coming in with like wet hair, and they're like, she's gonna be in a good mood now. She had the salt in her hair. She had her good morning session.
Endorphins are pumping.
Yeah. I always tell them, if I don't get, I think it's also, you know, like the tad of like, I think a lot of people have it like with entrepreneurial minds. If you don't move in the morning or you do something, your patience is way less. So I always tell my team, if I don't get that morning for me,
it's gonna be on you.
It's gonna be on you by accident, you know, like I have less patience, so let's, you know, and we do, it's better that way.
I could totally relate. But I also know that you're into your kite surfing, you're into a bit of free diving as well.
Yeah.
How important do you think sports like kite surfing and free diving, how important are they for the economy of Egypt in general, and for the economy of El Gouna as well?
Very. Like, if you see in high season in Gouna, like, when I kite out, like, I'm a bit selfish because I like emptiness. So I love the winter season for me personally, and business-wise. You go out in April and you're like kiting out, and you just see like the whole coast of El Gouna filled with kites, and it's amazing for beginners. Like, it's amazing for any level at the end of the day, because you have very open space, because you can literally just kite out to Bayut and you have the whole sea if you want, but it's also like shallow, close to the beach, so it's amazing for beginners. It's nice temperatures, you get to experience high quality food. So for a lot of kiters and people who do like kite camps, they come here for that. And especially since COVID, it boomed in Gouna, because people got to experience, they didn't know that you could have this type of quality of living for the value. And I believe like we have the most beautiful sea ever. I've traveled a lot, and I remember someone was telling me, yeah, you should go snorkeling. I was somewhere in Asia, and I went, and I was like, guys, what do you want me to see?
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And then when I started to see like my friends and stuff visit and they jump into the Red Sea, and I remember, I think I took it for granted a bit as a kid because I was so used to it that this is my backyard. Isn't this how all the corals look like?
Isn't all the water this clear? You know,
is it that turquoise? And then, you know, like I'll go somewhere and I'm like, and now for me, if I just get like 30 minutes per week out at sea, like I could be under there forever. Like my grandma, she's over her 70s, and she still, every non-windy day, she goes out for an hour and she goes snorkeling, and it's her therapy. You know, like we don't speak a lot about like those kind of things. Like I do mental coaching, but for her, just being in the sea, watching the fish, that's her calmness, that's her ease from the chaos. And I've connected so much with that because my dad's also a water person. Like he needs the water to start his day. Like he used to be a water polo athlete when he was young, actually, and we are very connected to the sea. And without it, like, yeah, it gives me so much clarity. Like I can have a bad day or a bad week, I just jump into the salt and I just feel like a new human. It sounds so cheesy and things, but
it's true. It's our reality. You know, it's you need that vitamin D and vitamin C, and as cliched as those sayings sound, but living here, it's so important. It's so important for me, at least, to get that little bit of sun, you know, and that coffee in the morning, and I'm done. You know, yeah. Speaking of support, and speaking of kite surfing, you started out something that is extremely impressive. I want to talk a little bit about Rising Stars. You started out a non-profit aimed at helping young and upcoming kite surfers. Tell me a little bit about the concept, you know, where it came from and where you'd like to take it, and what's happening with Rising Stars right now.
Yeah, funny enough, actually, after this, I'm going to go meet, I keep calling them kids, but they're not kids anymore. Like, we've been running for like 2 years, so they're towards, you know, starting to turn 18. And I'm like, I can't call them kids anymore. They're like, you know, like I feel like a bad mom where they're like feeling embarrassed, like, Nicole, we're not kids anymore. So Rising Stars was created, actually, so it came from a place. Like I always wanted to give back to the community in different ways of like using like network and community based. And because I was traveling a lot with my sister, I developed a very strong connection base within kite surfing when it sponsors different ways. I was analyzing, I love to observe and analyze people's behavior in a sense. And okay, how are people taking care of themselves? What were they doing as athletes? Okay, we can actually build something out of this for the local kids here. And like my sister went through a very like traumatic tragedy, and she felt, why was I privileged to live after this from like an accident? And you know, we switched it into the sense of like, but you can do more. And then, you know, we started brainstorming of what can we do. And then I remember sitting on the bus like in Marsalam a random time with her, and I just started making a logo. And it's like the 3 stars she has like tattooed here is a representation of 3 lives that were lost, but that she wants to keep like honoring them. Yeah. And for me, then we just connected all the dots together, and then we met Mustafa Abbas, and we started creating that. And I got to meet Hamza, who is a local kid from Dahab.
Beautiful human. Yeah, beautiful human.
When we started talking about that we wanted to help the local community, they said, go to this competition in Dahab, let's meet the Bedouins. And then Mustafa said, everyone told me you have to meet Hamza. I was like, who is this Hamza? And I rock up in Dahab, and first of all, like so impressed by the beauty of that place and like this kite surfing mecca kind of in Egypt as well. And this kid, so humble. We didn't speak the same language, like he barely spoke any English back then, but we connected so much on like, you know, like human to human. And I just saw him on the water doing, it didn't matter what kite he was having, it didn't matter what bar, he was insane.
Smooth. He's just so smooth.
And I was like, yeah, this is gonna work. This is gonna be something. And then he was the first one we took into Rising Stars. So it built on learning by doing with the people we were working with. So like we base it as a educational program in the sense of 4 pillars. So it's community, education, inspiration, and stability. So stability and the sense of helping them get kite sponsored gear. So if it's international, local, any way that they have stability of kites, because Egypt, kiting, you need 3 things. You need conditions, you need talent to be like professional, and you need money.
Yep.
In Egypt, you have insane conditions in different places around the
Insane
Red
talent,
Sea.
yeah.
You have incredible talent, but money is an issue.
Yep.
Like, well, what are they going to say? A kite costs 3,000 euros. So we are very lucky that the community of kitesurfing was very open to this and started helping us, like local shops like Holix, like Katana Wave, Brunoti Egypt, started, engaging in it, and then connecting into our contacts with international. Now Hamza is like on the international Mystic and North team. And that for me is the growth of now 2 years later, him last year winning Egypt Red Bull Winds of Sinai. I've never cried so much in my whole life. Yeah. But it was because we sat at the beginning of the year, we put out a vision board of like, what is your goals? I want to be Egyptian champion. And then for him to accomplish that was just so beautiful.
At such a young age.
At such a young age to see. And he's traveled now 2 times to Cape Town. He's been a month in Tarifa. His English is incredible. His social skills from then is insane. And the whole camp program that we did was based on these sectors. We provided them with English lessons. We went through their social media pages to rank, what do you want to represent? What do you want to do? We did coaching programs. We brought in athletes like Koen van Dijk, who's an amazing kite surfer and role model to them. We had local people speak. Like now, this camp is based on budgets and economy and self-development. We actually meeting Sitze for an ice bath on Saturday. So to integrate them, habits and routines that they can take into their day-to-day life so they can create their own path, so that they can carve what is my dream. If I say it out loud, I can do it and I can inspire other kids to do it. And that showed even so quickly. Like now we have 3 kids part of like the program, and
3
then
athletes.
Thank you. Yeah. So like I think the biggest thing for me is that if we can have any slight type of direct impact on their lives, that's a win. No matter if they choose to continue the career or not, they at least got a different perspective. And seeing, like when I went to Dahab last time, there were kids, like every year I go to Dahab and there's like small like plastic bags they're playing with on the beach, and each year it's getting more like expansive,
advanced
like
as a proper kite. Yeah, there's engineering involved. Yeah.
And thankfully to the community also here, like last time we could go, then people donated their secondhand gear and we could bring some gear for kids to play with. So that's also part of it, is not just building a platform for athletes to compete on international level, but also to upcycle gear and to just help kids have a different hobby.
Yeah.
In a sense, like that they can be part and do fun things for themselves and for their community, and they can evolve in sports even though it's a high cost things, because we have, as we say, the conditions. We have the most insane beautiful scenery, and just to be able to provide them, they don't care if they're playing with an old kite from 2012 or from 2024. They just want to be on the water. Yeah. They want to share that vibe, and like they deserve to do it as much, no matter where you're born, no matter which town you're from. Everyone is deserving of also having a dream. Yeah. To go for it. Yeah.
So if our local community would love to support Rising Stars, they can get in touch. They can, donate old gear. They can donate a skill or a talent that they can offer to the kids.
Sure.
So it's pretty much an open sharing kind of concept.
Yeah, because we're learning things by doing. Like we say, every camp, every time we're realizing, okay, what do we want to add in for education for them, and who wants to contribute in different things. Volunteers for filming, for photography. Even we're launching our website so people can even subscribe as a monthly subscriptor and be part of the direct impact, and every year getting an end result of, okay, what did your money or what did your kiting actually have a part of, because being part of something where, like I always said, like I was very privileged in my upbringing that my parents would be able to support me in, if I said a dream out loud, like they say you can go for it. It's not like that for everyone, but we want to make it more accessible for more people to be able to go for their goals, and more people can take part of it and be part of the direct impact on the young Egyptian talents we have here, because it's time for more people to see the conditions we have in Egypt, but also the talents. They deserve to be up there and to go for the Red Bull King of the Air, which is the biggest event in the world, you know, and that's what we were striving for.
And we believe they can, you know,
For
the
sure.
talent is there, but the things that you're offering, like the mentality, the mental coaching, the psychological coaching, the nutritional sort of elements, those are the things that can, that, you know, make those little fine differences between athletes at this level become closer and closer and closer until they're on par with the biggest of the boys athletes out there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's like I tell, so we work also in like a mentorship kind of program. So I have like the team now is like a Yusuf Khouli, who also, he comes and goes to Gouna. So we met here actually, and he's been an amazing help. He's like an athlete manager now, part of Rising Stars, growing it together. And, you know, like, because the language in the beginning also sometimes can be a bit of a problem. So with the mentorship program, they have kind of like a big brother looking out for them, so that they can contact, like we always joke about, like even when they were abroad, like, yeah, if you're having any problems, if and then I remember someone calling saying, yeah, there's this girl who hit on me. I don't know what to tell them. And we were like, it is cute, you know, like it's amazing. Like it's important for the community aspect of them as well, because they're experiencing something. They've never been abroad before. It's a different ball game, and you come from a very warm culture of people taking care of each other. And you know how it is sometimes outside Egypt. It's all men one for themselves. But luckily, the kite community itself is very supportive, and they've been so welcoming to all the athletes from Rising Stars, and really welcome and integrating and wanting to do different collaborations, which has been amazing.
It's been absolutely wonderful, and I completely wish that this journey keeps rising and the stars keep rising as well. Yeah, touch wood.
Touch wood. It's not always rainbows and butterflies, but you know, day by day we try our best to do what we can when we can and what's within our controls. So we work with what we have for now, the budgets we have for now, and then take it as it comes.
Nicely said. Now, speaking of going for your goals, which I love the fact that you're constantly going for. Nicole's Greenhouse, you know, tell us a bit more about that, the concept. You know, the restaurant is doing wonderfully here in Gouna. The reviews, and I'm talking about, you know, the local reviews, because there's online reviews, but then El Gouna is a place where the realest of marketing is word of mouth, you know. So the reviews I've been hearing are absolutely great. So the journey of, you know what, I want to start a restaurant. What happened there? How did that come about?
So I've always, like, food is my ultimate love language. It's like if someone is sad, I would bake a cake. Like, this was when I was a kid, or anything. Or if I wanted, I'm always been an early bird. So it's like I'd wake up earlier than my friends, bake like scones or whatever, and be like, good morning, everyone, get up. Or bring breakfast to bed. If I could choose, like, I don't live at home anymore, but you know, like, to make like my dad porridge in the morning, like, for me it's just my way of expressing like love, and also how to start people's day. So I always had a dream to have an impact on how people's days start. So now, like, seeing, like, I just came for the restaurant and seeing, you know, like, people sit in this like calm environment in the greenery, having nourishing meals that they can trust with like high quality ingredients, and like, things made from consciousness, and the staff going around with big smiles. And because I believe it's the butterfly effect. If you start your day in a good way, you will continue that energy, transmit it to the rest of the people, and, you know, returned. And so for me, that was the biggest like thing from the start. And like the base of like Nicole's Greenhouse was founded, I was doing consultancy for the hotels, and I did like menu in Makani with my mom. So I had a bit of like experience in these things, and for me it was important to educate people about allergies, about where food is coming from, because that comes close to me, that I believe that that's, as business owners, to minimize your ecological footprint is our responsibility because of how we stand right now. And
so you're trying to source as locally as much as you can for most ingredients and most dishes there.
And we only use like natural sweeteners, so we don't use any additives or controversial, because that's from my nutrition side. I find people don't have time as much because of the hustle and bustle of how the world has been to eat or cook at home, that it should be more of a home cooked vibe. And it's like I work with Sarah's Organic and Tulima Farms, and Sarah is also a local Gounie here, so it's also nice to integrate that community aspect, and also because I visit the farm and I can trust it. So for me, it was important, like literally in the kitchen, it's an open window, because it's trust both ways.
Yep.
Because the whole concept is based on like the circle or the logo is like what goes around comes back around. So I really believe in that saying, and it's based on earth, body, mind. So earth in the sense, okay, how can we work in a more sustainable to minimize our ecological footprint? So through the building. So I went up and down to Cairo to get like antique stuff, like to inspire people that you can prolong living of items and create like something nice, and how can we upcycle things and not just toss them away directly when we want something new?
Like kintsugi, there's a Japanese concept called kintsugi where if something breaks, they like to fix it with gold.
Yeah,
so
I've
it,
seen
it
this,
gives it
yeah.
an elevated life. It's like, it used to be a cup. Now it's now it's something even more beautiful and has more worth. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and then body in the sense of what kind of, like, where is the food coming from? Additives, all of these using high quality extra virgin olive oil, because like there's too much like chemically modified things today that we need to eat less of this and we need to have more probiotics. So indulging that in not in a diet way, in a more of a playful, and that the restaurant and the food becomes an experience. And I created the menu with, so through my travels with actually now my best friend Carol, who's an amazing chef, and she was part of, like growing it together. And there we could really like brainstorm and bowl a playful and yummy, delicious way, but healthy and conscious, and seeing the plate as a whole. So that's been like very gratitude. And then the mind, for me, coming from a very busy mind, and wanting people to take more care of each other also is in a team. So part of the education was a lot of like, I wanted people to work from Meraki, from passion and love and creativity, and the style that we try to educate the staff was coming from that if you cook with love, if you serve with love, if you walk in and appreciate where you are, the guest will feel it, and it will be a different experience. And for me, if my staff are happy, if my team is happy, if they're mentally feeling good, if they feel heard, if they feel seen, if they feel more as equals, then there's so much, like different positions. It's like, it's more of a leadership. It's not a management. It's like we lead and we try to grow together. And for example, I had a chef who got like, picked to come, and he was like, everyone's perspective was like vegetarian, vegan, or organic, whatever. It's just salads.
What do you mean there's no meat?
Yeah, literally. It's like no white sugar. And then, in the beginning I was like, I don't know how long it's going to take for, it's like to push through. And now like, I'm so grateful to the sport, because also for me I am really young and I'm experiencing everything for the first time and learning by doing. I didn't go to university. It's been school of everyone around me. School of life, everyone around me, like my family has been a big support in just helping me go. And them having the openness to a different way of thinking, a different way of leading. I will have gone for a few weeks and I come back and I'm like, oh, I have this new menu I want to do, this new drink. And they're so cold, like taking it in a good way, because it could have been in a complete different way, that my team would be like, this week she's trying this motivational thing for us to remember things. She's writing on the mirror, saying good morning, putting our focus points. This girl is crazy. But they're taking it in such good ways of like, that they also feel that they're evolving. And that is the ultimate why, that I walked into the restaurant the other day and then someone's like, Nicole, I created this. Do you want to try? And I look and I'm like, of course I do. Like I get so happy when people take from their own initiative to create, to do, because I feel then they're expressing and they're learning. And if that's what I can contribute to, then that is the biggest win for me. Like constant involvement.
And that is actually the concept of Meraki. The more you create with love, the more people will receive with love. and happiness.
Yeah.
And on that note, may you constantly keep creating with love, and may people constantly keep receiving your creations with love. Nicole, thank you very much for joining us on El Gounie.
Thank you, Safi, for having me. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to listen to all the other episodes and the inspiring people we have in this community.
Thank you for that. And we always end it with an El Gounie high five.
Okay.
Yes.